This is great. I can do it. It's gonna be fine. Have you ever wanted to be an international student but are a bit frustrated because you don't really have the money to make that happen? It's not your fault because there is a lot of information on the internet, but good opportunities are really hard to find. Fortunately, I was in the same boat, so I really understand the feeling. I passed from being a Spanish student with no funds, no money, and no clue about how to make that happen to being an international student. First, I studied in Brussels with an Erasmus scholarship, and then I went to New York and I studied all expenses paid, a full master's in communication with the Fulbright Scholarship. And in this video, I'm gonna show you some very exciting 100% government-funded scholarships so you can also become an international student. By the end of this video, you will know about some very exciting scholarships so you can get to study in places like North America, Europe, and also Asia. Hi there, my name is Wada, and you have just arrived to your new favorite community on YouTube where we talk about scholarships, opportunities abroad, and tools that can change your life. And let's start with the Fulbright Scholarship. So the Fulbright Scholarship is probably one of the most well-known government-funded scholarships, and is also one of the most prestigious scholarships in the world. If you had followed me on the internet for a while, you may know that I got this scholarship to study in New York for free, and it was one of my best experiences. I did not have to put $1 to study in New York and to do the whole master's program, and it opened a lot of doors for me, both academically and also professionally. For sure, I will make one dedicated video only about this scholarship, and maybe more than one video. But something that I want you to know is that this scholarship is made by the government of the United States in kind of like a deal with the government of your country. So the deal and what it entails and what it requires varies from country to country. So for instance, it's not the same in my case that I went from Spain and I'm Spanish, that if you go from Sweden, for example, or from Germany or from France, it's very different because it's this kind of partnership between the United States and that country, and that really varies the amount of money and what you get from that scholarship. But something for sure that I have to tell you is that when I was in New York, I met a lot of people from all the countries that were really enjoying their experience with Fulbright, and there's a lot of countries participating. I would say the majority of the countries are participating on the Fulbright Scholarship, and given that it's a very prestigious scholarship, it also opens a lot of opportunities to you because people do know that name when you're in the States. So it also helps you when you want to apply for university or you want to get a job. So for sure, I really recommend this scholarship. As I was telling you, in my case, I went from Spain and the scholarship was super generous. It included the round trip, a monthly salary in New York that allowed me to get an apartment in Manhattan. I was studying in the Fifth Avenue for free in one of the best design schools in the country and in the world. More things, it also got me like health insurance. They were very supportive throughout the whole process. And what's more, it provided me with very incredible opportunities. I met a lot of people and I really got to experience really good professional experiences that really added up on my CV. As you may already know, living in New York is very expensive. It's one of the most expensive cities in the world, and studying in the Fifth Avenue comes at a price. For sure, it's not cheap, but I could do it without being a millionaire, without coming from a family that really had the funds to make that happen. And I was sharing classes with people that really did come from millionaire families, and that was not my background. My family immigrated from Argentina to Spain when I was 7. So for sure, I felt a lot of pride being there, and I was very thankful to Fulbright for this amazing opportunity. This is why I am so passionate for this topic, because it really did change my life. And sometimes people can apply for these scholarships, but they feel it's pretty hard for them to get because it's very competitive. But some other times people don't even know this is a possibility for them. So the first step is to know that you can make this happen, and then you have to know about all the steps and of course go one step at a time, because it can get overwhelming very easily. But just you knowing that this is a possibility that you can get with your country already puts you with like a lot of advantage, because a lot of people don't even even know. They may be able to fill all the requirements, but now you have this knowledge and now you can use it to your advantage. This is a very good scholarship, and depending on your country, you can use it to your master's or your PhD. Masters and PhD are the most like usual studies that Fulbright covers, but you have to go on their website to see what type of scholarships they're covering, because sometimes they do have some programs if you're still in university. And the best thing that you can do is go to the website of Fulbright. Looked on Google like Fulbright and your country, just so that you can know what scholarships they have. They normally have a lot. For example, in Spain you have, if you want to do PhD, if you want to do a master's in like a lot of areas of study, I must say I did communications. I know people that did arts, engineering, economics, political science, a lot of different types of study. And this is huge because like tuitions in the States are pretty expensive. The tuition of my program for the 2 years was like $75,000. You also have to live in New York, and I was getting a salary of $2,300 per month, etc., etc. So these things can add up super quickly, and with our salaries in our country, we don't normally have the funds to make this happen. But yeah, PhD, masters. Also, if you want to be a teacher, like a teacher of your language there, if you want to be a visiting professor in a university, many opportunities. Just go to the website, and I'm pretty likely there can be something for you. Next scholarship we're gonna talk about are the MEXT scholarships. This scholarship is pretty similar to Fulbright in the sense that it also wants to have this cultural exchange between Japan and the other countries, and it's also a government-funded scholarship. And these scholarships are made for people that have a genuine interest in learning more about Japan and about the language, and who want to really strengthen the relationships between Japan and their countries. And the fields of study that you can study with these scholarships are, of course, all those fields of studies that you can get to study in Japan, given that you're gonna do your studies there. These scholarships are available for those international students who want to study the last years of their university degree, a master's, or also a PhD or a research program in the country. This is also a very complete scholarship because it pays for your tuition approximately for 1 year of study. It also gives you a monthly stipend. The monthly stipend depends on what level of study you're doing, but it can range from $900 to $1,000 or even $1,300 if you're doing a research, which is great. And it also includes the round trip. So as you can see, it doesn't only cover the tuition, but it also covers for all those small living expenses that you have to do every day, and that if you don't have the money, you cannot really do it, right? Now that you're here, there's something that I love to do for people that are new to the channel. If you're new here, I would love that you leave me the flag of your country. Whether you're from China, you're from France, or you're from Peru, just put it in the comments and I'm gonna give it a little heart. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for many more interesting opportunities abroad. Another great scholarship, this time in Sweden, is the Swedish Institute Scholarship for Global Professionals. These scholarships are aimed at international students that come from developing countries that want to study their master's degree, whether it's 1 year or 2 years, and whose program starts in fall. It's a pretty good scholarship because it doesn't only cover the tuition of the university in Sweden, but at the same time it gives you a monthly stipend, so you can really get to live and to have the full experience and don't have to worry about having to pay all the expenses such as eating, the accommodation, etc., etc. When it comes to the tuition, the government pays directly to the university, so you don't have to worry about having to manage that money. And at the same time, the monthly stipend that you receive is around $1,000, which is great because it really helps you cover all these expenses. And what's also great is that they give you some extra money, so you can also pay for the round flight, and you don't have to worry about having to cover the very long and expensive flight between your country and Sweden. But of course, as with all the other scholarships, it also has its requirements, and one of the requirements of this scholarship is that you need to already have 3,000 hours of professional experience, which I made a rough calculation. That's like 375 working days, assuming that you work 8 hours per day. They also require that you are already accepted to one program in Sweden, and that you're able to pay for the tuition, just so that you're not applying for a program only to see if you get the scholarship. A note that I would like to make: I know Sweden can be a very expensive country, like all the Nordic countries in Europe are pretty expensive, but at the same time, tuitions in those countries like in Sweden, for example, are not as expensive as, for example, the United States. In the United States, if you want to study a master's program, I guess the minimum that you can get it if you don't get any scholarship is like $3,000, and it can really well go up. My program was like $75,000. It can also be like $100,000 or even $200,000. In Sweden, you can get very good education for an amount of 1,000 or 2,000 euros. So as you can see, for sure, it's not free, but at the same time, it's not as expensive as if you want to study, for example, in other countries like, for example, the United States or even the United Kingdom. Some universities can be more expensive than, for example, Sweden. And the education is also pretty good. So as you can see, you don't have to close yourself to only studying in like the top universities that we all have heard in the United Kingdom or the United States, but you can really open your mind to all these new opportunities in other countries. Because of course, it's not only about paying for the tuition, you also have to pay for all the living expenses. But I just want you to open your mind, and in this channel, I'm gonna show you many ways that you can cover for the different expenses. But for the moment, the most important thing is for you to know that there are opportunities out there, and there are many countries that are having great scholarships. And from Sweden, we go to Belgium, because Belgium also has great scholarships for international students. I may be a bit biased with this one too, because I lived in Belgium twice. I lived in Brussels, first with a scholarship, with the Erasmus scholarship, and I also did an internship at the Council of the European Union. I had the time of my life. I really love Belgium. I think it's a very cool country. It's pretty small, you get to travel a lot, and I really recommend that you have an experience in Belgium as well. With this scholarship, you can study an English program at a Flemish university, and it's aimed towards international students from developing countries in Latin America, Asia, and also Africa. As you will see that it happens with a lot of this government-funded scholarship, is that it really wants to bring diversity to the classes, and it really wants to make the experience of studying abroad as enriching as possible. So it's not only about paying for your tuition, but really getting you to understand and to know their culture, and at the same time, they want you to bring your own and unique insight from your country. I would like to point out for a second what I said about Flemish, because maybe you don't know what's the difference, but basically Belgium is a country that can be basically, okay, for all the Belgian people, I know it's more complex than that, into two different parts. One part is the Flemish-speaking part of Belgium, and then you have the French-speaking part of Belgium. This scholarship would be for you to study at the Flemish part in places like Antwerp, Bruges, and I think even Brussels also counts with that, because Brussels is like this neutral place where you can get to do studies both in Flemish and in French. For instance, when I was in Brussels, I was going to a French university, so all the classes were in French, but I had friends that in Brussels were going to a Flemish university, so they were having English classes because they didn't know Flemish, but at the same time you could study Flemish on those universities as well. The Flemish part of Belgium is very beautiful. I really like it, and it's great that you can get to have that experience. You can maybe even learn some Flemish, also knowing and being reassured that your classes are gonna be in English, which is pretty important. If you want to know what opportunities they have available, you have to go to their website because they do have a ton of scholarships, not only for masters, which is something more traditional, but also for you to do courses, like small courses in Belgium, and also trips. So it's really worth it to check out their website to see what opportunities they have coming up. And let's travel from Belgium to Korea, because Korea also has a very cool program that is government funded, so you can study there 100% for free as an international student. What's great about this scholarship is that it's not only for people that wants to do a master's or a PhD in Korea, which is more like a common thing on this type of scholarships, but you can also get to study your university degree in Korea. Some of the Korean universities are on the top rankings of best universities in the world, and it's a very interesting country to keep into consideration if you want to do your studies in the fields of technology or engineering, for example. It's a very globalized country, as you may know, and it has some studies in English, but it's also worth keeping into consideration that you do need to have some Korean, some level of Korean if you want to study here, as many of the programs require that you understand Korean Korean and are able to speak it and to, perform correctly in the classes. On a personal note, I am really looking forward to traveling to Korea. I think it's a very interesting country. I studied communications and it's incredible what Koreans are doing in the field. So for sure, I would love to travel to Korea and even spend some time just to be in the industry and really understand how they're bringing innovation to the forefront of the industry. One of the requirements of this scholarship is that you cannot be Korean. Another one is that if you want to study the university degree, like if you want to do your bachelor's, you have to be under 25 years old. And if you want to study the master's degree with this scholarship, you have to be under 40 years old. Another requirement is that you have to be on the top 20% best performing students in your class, and you should have finished high school or be about to finish it. Let's go back to Europe and let's talk about the Chevening scholarships to study in the United Kingdom. I would say the Chevening scholarship is the equivalent of the Fulbright Scholarship in the United Kingdom because it's also a government funded program that also wants to get like the next world leaders. It also values diversity, mutual understanding between countries, and it's also one of the most prestigious scholarships in the world. This is a very complete scholarship, and what's great is that it covers all the areas of study, although each year Chevening can decide that they have some priorities or some areas that they want to get more students to participate in. I'm going to talk more in depth about this scholarship on another video, but for sure it's worth it to keep in mind if you want to study a master's degree in the United Kingdom. It's very competitive, but of course, as it happens with all these government funded scholarships, they're very complete, very prestigious, so that means that to a certain extent they're pretty competitive, but it does provide a lot of advantages. You do have possibilities because people do get this scholarship every year, and you get to study at great universities, so think about it. Of course, it's not an easy process to get a scholarship, but the rewards are enormous. You do have to do a lot of things like drafting a good curriculum, asking for recommendation letters, writing a statement of purpose. That can seem very overwhelming very fast. Thankfully, in my channel, I'm going to talk a lot about that because I already did the process and I know a lot of things about it because I did it more than once. So for sure, stay here for a lot of free content on YouTube. I'm also hosting a scholarship below on how to get the scholarship of your dreams with all the steps that you need to take in the right order, whether you want to study your bachelor's, your master's, or your PhD. So feel free to sign up below. It's 100% for free. So I hope to see you there. Even if it feels like a lot at the beginning and you have a lot of self-doubts, as I had, I don't want you to get discouraged or overwhelmed by all the information that you're starting to get from this channel. I just want that you start opening your possibilities and know that there are options. There are options to study abroad, even if you're not a millionaire and even if you don't have the funds. So that's my main purpose with this channel. Coming back to the topic, it's now time to talk about Hungary, because actually Hungary has a very good scholarship to study there, and it's not one of the most popular destinations when people think about studying abroad, but it can be great. I've been to Budapest. It's an amazing city. It has like super good vibes, a lot of young students, so think about it. This scholarship called Stipendium Hungaricum is great, and you can go to their website to check all the requirements and all the perks of getting this scholarship. It's a pretty well-rounded scholarship because it pays for the full tuition, health insurance, which is very important and you need it. At the same time, it gives you a monthly stipend so you can get to live in the country, and it also pays for the round trip from your country. I think it's cool that you get the chance of studying not only at the most popular places like the United Kingdom or the United States, but also that you get to do it on places like Hungary, which is super different. I know a lot of people that studied in Budapest, for example, and they really love the experience, so just go to their website with an open mind and check all the possibilities available for you. With this scholarship, you can study in programs that are either in Hungarian or in English, which is great if you don't speak Hungarian. And what's great is that you can study many different levels of education. You can study your university degree, your master's, your PhD, and also some small courses about different topics. And it's also worth noting that it includes all fields of study. Let's go to Germany to talk about the DAAD scholarships. I'm not sure if you're supposed to say say DAAD or DAAD scholarships, but basically this is one of the best scholarships that you can take if you want to study in Germany. These scholarships are for people who want to study their master's or PhD in Germany, and it includes both for programs that are in English and also programs that are in German. As I say with all the scholarships, the best source is always to go to their official page, but I must tell you, this is a very generous scholarship because it includes a lot of things like health insurance, tuition, accommodation costs, round-trip flight, or even school supplies. It's also worth noting that Germany is one of the biggest economies in Europe, which is great because for sure that's going to provide you a lot of professional opportunities that you may not get on other countries because they're smaller or they may not have all this economical power. And at the same time, for example, in Spain, a lot of engineering students go to work in Germany because they do have a lot of professional experiences. So this scholarship can be your door to truly live in that country and really have a great life, let's say. Usually the scholarship duration is for 2 years if you want to do a master's degree and 4 years if you want to do a PhD. And the areas they usually give more scholarships to are engineering, education, entrepreneurship, international business and economics, psychology, architecture, amongst others. Usually when you go to their website and it's worded like that, it means that they do give priority to those areas of study, but they're also open to other areas of study. As I always say, the most important thing is that you check on their website, and if you have any questions, the best source is just to send them an email and they're gonna answer super fast, and you're gonna have all your answers that you need in, with the most trusted source ever. You just have to be very proactive when it comes to getting a scholarship because scholarships are not gonna get to you. You have to be the one going and finding and chasing those scholarship opportunities. Something important about this scholarship is that this is not the type of scholarship with one fixed date where it opens officially and it closes, but it rather has like a rolling basis approach, which means that, they may have like different opportunities popping up from time to time. So the best thing you can do is to check the website on a regular basis. If you want to study in China, we also have this great government-funded scholarship for you, and it's a very complete one. They pay for the health insurance, accommodation, round trip, and full tuition. What's great about this scholarship is that you can study at different levels of education. So for instance, you can study your university degree, like your bachelor's. You can also study your master's and your PhD. For the bachelor's, you have to be under 25 years old. For master's, you have to be under 35 years old, and for the PhD you have to be under 40 years old. What's great about this scholarship is that you can apply for any area of study, which is great no matter if you want to study, for example, law, education, science, history, fine arts. That's included in this scholarship. As I was saying, they give you a monthly salary, which is great, but something that you should also know is that if you want to study a master's or PhD, they also give you an accommodation. So usually as it goes is that the scholarship gives you money for you to pay for the accommodation, but with this scholarship they give you the accommodation and you don't have to use the money of the scholarship for that, which is great and it's pretty unusual. I don't normally see that on a lot of scholarships, so also worth it to keep into consideration. Maybe you're wondering right now, should I know Chinese to study here? What I read on the website is that you can study both in Chinese or also in English, so depending on what language you want to do there your studies in, you have to provide either the exam that you know how to speak Chinese indeed, or the English exam, just so that they can know for sure that you're able to speak either of those languages and you can really enjoy the experience there. If you have any questions, feel free to write them below and I will try to answer as many questions as possible. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this new channel that I'm very excited about, where I'm gonna bring you a lot of opportunities that I'm sure that are gonna change your life. Bye!